I love Sheffield, yes, love it. Been here 17 years.
I like Sheffield because the people are very friendly.
There's a large student community, so it makes it like very lively, very vibrant city in that regard, and also very multicultural, no?
And we love the Sheffield people.
Everything, the city, the nature, the outside of Sheffield, it's lovely. Great place.
Certainly is a great place. Welcome to Sheffield Live here on 93.2 FM. We're looking at the rota for today, and somebody pulled out a short straw, so you got me, PG. And we're going to say hello to my co-presenter today. And
hello, Susie Casson.
Good stuff. And we're going to be talking about lots of exciting stuff like beer. And other things around that. So lots of stuff to come on the show. But we're going to sort of start straight in, I think, by... I don't know, have you got a camera handy?
Yeah. Well, we're joined by Dave Pickersgill from CAMRA, the Campaign for Real Ale. So welcome, Dave. Can you start by saying what your role is in CAMRA?
Thanks, Susie. CAMRA, I would say, first of all, CAMRA was founded about 40 years ago in the early 1970s, at a time when most beer in this country was fairly fizzy rubbish. Some of us will remember Watney's Red Barrel and other such delights like Brew 10 and Worthington E. However, CAMRA now got more members than it's ever had. There's over 175 nationally, which interestingly is more members than the Conservative Party, which is a little known fact which ought to be broadcast from the rooftops. CAMRA itself, split into local groups, is about 200 across the UK. I'm actually on the committee of Sheffield and District CAMRA. I tend to concentrate on the pub heritage role, but Sheffield itself, fairly large branch. We've got just over 1,600 members. So as I say, I'm on the committee of Sheffield and District CAMRA, mostly taking on pub heritage role. But I've also been doing a lot of work to do with assets of community value in the recent past.
Yeah, so what's an asset of community value?
Asset of community values introduced in the 2011 Localism Act. It's basically a listing of, as the word says it, the box says it, an asset that is of value to the community. It's pretty obvious. Nationwide, lots of institutions, buildings have been put forward of assets of community value, including a fair number of pubs. CAMRA would argue that a good pub is an asset of value to the community, whether it's a backstreet local or a nationwide institution like the Sheffield Tap, or a city centre backstreet pub like, say, the Red Deer. They're assets to the community, to the wider community, not just within the people who live within half a mile or close. The government itself wants local authorities to add assets to their list, and it's pushing ACV, which is actually about the only good thing the Conservative government has done, but that's a by the by. What we're doing in Sheffield and CAMRA nationwide, we're trying to get pubs listed as ACV, assets of community value. The main reason is that if something is listed as an ACV and the owner wishes to change use of the building, a fair number of pubs have changed into Tesco's, Sainsbury's and the like in the last few years. If the owner wishes to do that without ACV status, they can be converted with no planning permission. ACV status gives a little 6-month pause, which can be quite valuable. I can give you lots of examples of pubs that have got ACV status that have actually, I think, gained from having that status. An obvious one's the Anglers Rest at Bamford, if you know it. Anglers Rest at Bamford, it was closed by the owner. The locals got ACV status from Derbyshire Dales, I think it was, local council, created a community interest company, and within the 6-month moratorium period, they basically put together a business plan, eventually bought the building. Now it's a community pub, it's owned by the community, the post office is on site, there's a cafe on site, it's even got a bicycle repair shop around the corner, it's in the CAMRA Good Beer Guide. But without ACV status, that would probably have been converted to residential use. That's a simple example that's very local to us. Another example, the Angel at Spink Hill, if you know that one, closed in 2014, became an ACV, there was a lot of community interest. A restaurateur has actually taken that pub over. It's not a community-owned pub now, but that 6-month moratorium just gave the period when somebody could put their business plans together, think it through, and make it happen. So ACV, in terms of CAMRA nationwide, we think it's a way of giving them that little pause. The owner wants to turn it into a shop. They can literally do that overnight at the moment if it's not an ACV status. If it has got ACV status, asset community value, they need to get planning permission. So nationally, CAMRA have, I think, CAMRA nationally doesn't submit applications, local branches submit applications, but over 1,000 applications have gone via CAMRA nationally. All our applications have gone via CAMRA nationally. And we think at the moment there's about 1,200 pubs nationwide that have got ACV status.
Right, so at the moment you're waiting to hear from the council?
Well, the council, Sheffield Council. Sheffield CAMRA, we've submitted 14 ACV applications since last July. That's Sheffield CAMRA. There's also been 3 or 4 other applications from different groups in Sheffield area for their local pubs. A designated group like CAMRA or 21 local residents, concerned residents, can submit ACV applications. They have to come from CAMRA and come from a group of 21 interested people. We submitted 14 applications, 2 to Derbyshire Dales, the Bull's Head at Fullo, Red Line at Lytton, both got ACV status. The Derbyshire Dales were absolutely brilliant to deal with. They acknowledged the application, they contacted us, they kept us informed, and the 8-week period finished and a letter dropped through my door. Job done. So they were absolutely brilliant. As for Sheffield, right. Sheffield City Council, we submitted 10 applications around the end of July last year. That's about 6 months ago, give or take a week. They are supposed to make decisions within 8 weeks. I got the official email on Monday of this week, which said they'd rejected 9 of those applications. That's 6 months, which should take 8 weeks. We have complained to the monitoring officer. I've had an application, a response, but we've had nothing more from Sheffield Council on that line. They actually posted them on their website just before Christmas, and didn't bother to tell us for another month. But again, that's by the by. So Sheffield City Council, they've been incredibly slow in responding. I mean, they haven't kept to the statutory limits, but that's by the by. We think they're being a little overzealous in their interpretation of the law. That's a polite way of putting it. Derbyshire Dales, absolutely no problem. You put a Derbyshire Dales application side by side with the application put into Sheffield, and I would suggest that the Derbyshire Dales ones are actually weaker, but that's by the by. There was some very good applications that have gone into Sheffield. They all went through our colleagues at CAMRA HQ in St Albans, who've compared them to applications from other parts of the country which received ACV status from different councils. And our colleagues in St Albans believe that the applications we put in were certainly sufficient to gain ACV status. So our first contention is that Sheffield City Council are, I think, gold-plating the requirements is a good phrase. They're asking for more than is needed. They're also being very picky. We put the applications in. 6 or 7 weeks later, they sent us an email wanting more information. One pub we nominated, 3 Tons on Silver Street Head. We just put as an aside in the application. It has a reputation of being Sheffield's most haunted pub. The sort of line you put in an application which gives colour. The email back from Legal Services at Sheffield City Council asked us for evidence to support that contention. How do you prove somewhere as the most haunted pub in Sheffield? Well, we gave them some links to ghost walks and things like that, but yeah, it's just sorry. So Sheffield City Council, we believe, is being overzealous in their interpretation of the law. We've got 3 applications in at the moment. One, the Cremorne, the decision is due next Saturday. 3 Tons is due in mid-March, and the Castle of Bradway is between Lot in a Black Hole. I'm not quite sure when that one's going to pop out. Sheffield City Council, Sheffield, there are only 2 ACVs in the whole of Sheffield. They're both pubs. There's the Castle of Bolsterston and the Plough at Cross Pool. If you look at other cities of similar size, Leeds, Manchester, Liverpool, there are dozens, if not hundreds, of ACVs. So I think our contention is that the Sheffield Council are being overzealous and overzealous and over the top on their interpretation of a good ACV application. Again, it's interesting that there was a motion at Sheffield City Council meeting a couple of weeks ago from, I think it was the Liberal Dems, about this very issue. There's been some press interest as well in the Star and the Morning Telegraph, and we're interested in how Sheffield will respond to our latest applications. But we'll keep you posted on that one.
Yeah, please do.
Can I sort of pitch in with the question? It's about saving these institutions as a pub. And what you see across the city, I mean, my local in the days of my youth used to be the Old Harrow out towards Ridgeway.
Yeah.
And it's now, I think, Bay of Bengal,
Yes.
the restaurant. Equally, not too far away from that, about a mile away, there's another one that's been converted into an Indian restaurant. On my trip into town on the tram, I see at least two supermarkets that have taken over pubs.
It's good that he's doing well. Should be listed as an asset of community value. There's no reason he should not be. If a pub, the Old Harrow, I do know where that pub is. I have drunk in there in the past. Many years ago, I actually worked on Fox Lane, which is just down the road from there. So I did pass that most days. It was a large pub on a corner. It wasn't particularly well used, and inevitably use of buildings changes. The other side of that is that there are, to my knowledge, I mean, just totally off the top, 2 pubs on Ecclesall Road that have opened in the last year or so, new uses of that building. There's the Market Pub at the end, the beer house,
Yes.
and the new Welbeck one at the other end of Ecclesall Road. The Welbeck one is a converted Coupland's Bakery, and the beer house, again, is a converted shop. So that's 2 micropubs that have opened that seem to be doing well, are attracting trade. They're looking for the small niche market, 4 or 5 cask beers, very little other alcohol drinks, probably no spirits, no music. So that niche has been taken. I was talking to a couple of property developers in Chesterfield last Thursday afternoon, and they're looking for sites for pubs that they can either rejuvenate or new sites where they can perhaps start a micro pub or the like, and we were talking about possibilities. It's the reason pubs change, I mean, pubs close, it's complicated, but it basically all comes down to if it doesn't get used, it will close.
Yeah.
And it's the same with any shop, any cinema, bingo hall, call it what you will. People's tastes will change. But the other side of that is if a pub is good, is doing well, it will stay open. And it's something that I think Sheffield Council ought to be looking fairly seriously at. And the impact of beer tourism on Sheffield is, it's in a way it's unnoticed, but there are hundreds, possibly thousands of people who deliberately change trains in Sheffield so they can call in the Rutland and tap.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's really famous. I mean, back in history, there have been some really sort of famous brews in Sheffield. But I did a show some time back now talking about when I was a youngster, my father worked in the steel industry and used to go out on Savile Street at a certain time, and it was awash with men coming from the steel industry, and a huge sort of history for that sort of industry was that those men drank a lot of beer. So there were lots and lots of local pubs around that industry. And now that industry's disappeared.
That industry's disappeared, that market has gone.
Yeah.
Those pubs have, to a large extent, closed because there is no custom.
Yeah.
This is what happens. I mean, that's...
Yeah, well, I think things change as well.
Things change.
Talk about the Old Harrow back in the sort of 60s.
We also look, I was talking about beer tourism a minute or two ago. If you think of the Fat Cat in 1981, bought by Dave Wickett and his partner, a pub and a back street in the middle of what was then decaying industry, effectively. 30, 40 years later, Kelham Island is the place to be. It's, flats going up. It's one of the up-and-coming parts of Sheffield. There's nice cafes there. There's 3 or 4 pubs. Kelham Island Tavern, CAMRA National Pub of the Year twice recently, and other pubs opening. The Ship's just been revamped. Somebody's put a lot of money into that one. So that area of Sheffield has gone up. But it was an area of Sheffield which was decaying industry. And I remember going to the Fat Cat in the 80s, and it was walking down dark streets thinking, where am I going here?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's,
things change.
Yeah, I mean, the castle used to be a local for a lot of Sheffield climbers and mountaineers. Bradway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of pubs and the Old Harrow. The point I was going to make with that is Shirley Bassey sang live at the Old Harrow. Yeah, back in the early 60s.
The Arctic Monkeys did their first gig at the Grapes in the 1990s, 2000s. So a lot of famous things have happened in pubs. Some will close, some will move on. And the other thing that's worth thinking about, which we haven't mentioned yet, is that the whole pub heritage angle. Sheffield itself has got 2 pubs in the CAMRA National Inventory of Pub Interiors, the Sheffield Tap and the Bath on near the university.
Yeah.
It's got an increasing number of regional entries. Newbark and Hillsborough just joined that list. And interestingly, the Friendship in Stocksbridge, which is not a pub that's on most people's go-to lists, in the games room there is a painted tile of Venice, which can be dated to 1903. And if you go into the history of that, it's a guy from the potteries who used to do tiles and tile work. And it has got a gem sitting in there, which is one of the reasons it's got onto the local inventory, onto the original inventory of pub interiors. So that's something else that CAMRA's doing. We do have, if you go on Google and the like and just put CAMRA Pub Heritage, you'll find the national and local lists of pub interiors, which is all part of the looking at saving our history and saving our culture.
Well, I think you've got that on the exteriors as well in Sheffield.
Oh, and some of the...
You've got some beautiful tiled exteriors on pubs.
And just across the road from here, the Rutland Arms, so that's an obvious example. But as you go around the city, there are many examples of pubs with wonderful tile work and the like. There's also quite a few examples of ex-pubs with wonderful tile work.
Yes.
The Greyhound in Attercliffe, the one just behind Howco, which whose name I can't remember, but never mind. That has got brilliant set of tile work. What we've been doing within CAMRA locally, we're compiling a list, a local inventory of pub exteriors and interiors, pubs that don't make the regional and national lists, but it's a developing local list, which we will be continuously developing as people spot things and things change and things develop. The Royal Standard around the corner from here, again, the exterior sign there, the current one, that was only revealed a year or so ago when the sign that was up was taken out in a storm, and they've left the original sign, which is probably 100, 150 years old.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a heritage that nobody knew about and has now popped back again.
So people in Sheffield tend to care about their local pubs.
Mm-hmm.
How do they get behind the movement?
Well, the obvious thing is to use their local pubs. So the obvious answer. As I suggested already, the CAMRA website, join CAMRA because the money all goes to useful causes, and you get cheap entry to beer festivals, and a number of pubs give you 10p off a pint. The CAMRA, our monthly magazine, Beer Matters, 3,500 copies get distributed 11 times a year. We do a double issue at Christmas, but 3,500 copies get distributed around the area. There's lots of contact details in there. I usually reply to emails. If I get inundated, I may not, but please contact us and take part. Come to a branch meeting, assist at the beer festival. There's lots of ways people who are interested can join in. And a quick plug: the next Sheffield CAMRA Beer Festival, Calamount Industrial Museum, 19th to 22nd of October. Yeah. Make sure you're there.
As long as you're of legal drinking age, the advice, I think, would be get out of the house drinking that sort of pre-packed rubbish that you bought.
That's right.
Go and find a pub that sells real drink, real beer. And
as an aside, we did our pub capital survey last September. We didn't go to every pub in Sheffield because we only did 145 in one day, but we did find 384 different cask condition beers on sale in Sheffield on a Saturday in September, which is actually more than any other city in the UK.
Excellent stuff. Yeah.
I just wanted to know, Dave, what's your own favourite pub in Sheffield?
Oh, that's a hard one. Favourite pub. It's very difficult to pick out a favourite. Sheffield CAMRA has a Pub of the Year competition. I actually did my voting for that a couple of weeks ago, and getting the top 10 was hard enough. Places like the Fat Cat, Kellerman, Shakespeare's, quite like the Wellington, and Beer Engine, which is a new one on the block. So getting the top 10 was hard enough, and then getting them in order. I did eventually end up there and ended up with 3 tons at the top, so that's my top one at the moment.
Yeah.
But this time next year it could be different.
That's great.
Good. So, get out there, support your local pub. It can be real fun. Take a camera if you like, or join CAMRA, even better. I'm going to play a bit of music now, so we can sort of move things along. And this is Dan Walsh with his rendition "Upward Spiral."